Benitez Morgan. I'm the administrative law judge who's been assigned this matter that is before us today. We're here for a probable cause hearing. Dr. Maloali, if you could pronounce your first name so I don't mangle it, sir.
Spell it or pronounce it?
Just pronounce it so I can say it correctly.
The L turns into D.
I'm sorry, sir.
Molaoli.
No, your first name.
Oh, it's Moiketsky.
Moiketsky. Okay. All right. We have Moiketsky Maloali versus the state of Wisconsin Department of State Safety and Professional Services. ERD case number is 2023-00046. This matter is on for a probable cause hearing. The complaint was filed with the Equal Rights Division on January the 4th of 2023. Equal Rights Officer investigated the complaint and issued an initial determination on September the 1st of 2023, finding that there was no probable cause to believe that the respondent violated the Wisconsin Fair Employment Law by refusing to license the complainant because of race, refusing to license the complainant because of color, refusing to license the complainant because of national origin, and refusing to license the complainant because of a conviction record. The complainant timely appealed, and this matter was certified for probable cause hearing. We had a pre-hearing conference on November the 13th of 2023, at which time this matter was scheduled for 2 days of hearing for today, May 29th, and tomorrow, May 30th of the year 2024. We had a final pre-hearing on May the 20th, at which time the parties had submitted their witness lists and exhibits. A memorandum was issued to the parties subsequent to that final pre-hearing conference, and the exhibits had been were sent to bait stamped exhibits were sent to the parties. Would like to note that Dr. Maloali at that time did not have any witnesses that had been properly subpoenaed. The parties conferred in trying to find if there was a witness for the respondent that could possibly be available for today's hearing. I received an email from the respondent indicating that they were able to obtain a witness, a Miss Tammy Buckingham, who is the licensing and credentialing specialist for Dr. Maloali. My understanding is that you will be calling that witness, Attorney Simcox, and then Dr. Maloali will have the opportunity to cross-examine her. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. That being said, the parties do have their bait stamped exhibits for each other, and those are the exhibit numbers we will be using at hearing today. Are the parties ready to begin? Is that a yes, Dr. Maloali?
Should I begin?
Yes. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay. If you could raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm or swear that the testimony you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, I'm going to start off with a few questions and then we're going to proceed from there. Dr. Maloali, how do you identify your race?
You're asking me how do I identify my race?
Yes, sir.
My race will identify as South African.
Okay, and how do you identify as far as your color?
Say based on my pigmentation and melanin, I'll say black.
Okay, and what is your national origin, sir?
my ancestry, the derivative of my ancestry is African.
Thank you, sir. Okay. And one of the issues that is before us is a conviction record allegation. What conviction record are we speaking of, sir?
Your Honor, we what criminal? I would call it a criminal interaction with the law. This is a case which stemmed out of a contentious divorce that we ended up catching a charge of a misdemeanor of disorderly conduct based on the contention of the divorce. It was very contentious. We had it for 3-4 days trial, and it was very contentious. That's how I ended up catching the charge, because apparently I raised my voice at my ex-wife, and that's how I caught up that charge. And the other charges that I caught, there were a couple of felonies which they had no merit. They ended up dismissing those. And in between the very other charges that were leveled up against by the DEA, they ended up putting what they call a bail jumping. Now that I skipped out of the country, now that I skipped out of my state, they put that as a plea deal to put that as the bail jumping, and they dismissed the rest based on the no merit. So those are the criminal interactions of the law, which is a disorderly conduct, the peccadillo, and the so-called bail jump.
Bail jumping because you picked up other charges while you were out on bail.
While I was having,
well, one case was pending. You were charged criminally with more stuff.
Yes, with more stuff that were related to the family case that ended up
right, and
the very case to the DA.
That is how bail jumping works. It's not necessarily that you skipped. It's that you're not part of the conditions of bail, or you're not supposed to pick up other charges, even if those other charges are later dismissed. Okay. Explain to me how you feel, your position, your case, in regards to the refusal to be licensed by the Department of Safety and Professional Services based on your race, color, national origin, and conviction record. Explain to me what happened, sir.
That you're on in a second. Based on Exhibit 060 and Exhibit 079.
Okay, let's pull those up.
Based on Exhibit 060 and 079, I
All
set
right.
forth.
Well, hold on, because we need to look at those. Okay. Are you going to pull those up?
Yes.
So it's 060 through 079. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that's all one exhibit?
Those are two exhibits.
Okay, well, we're going to take them one at a time. So 060 through 060 through what?
60 through, as it's Bates tagged, 060 through tagged as 078.
No, you said they're two different exhibits.
Okay.
So tell me, we're just going to take each exhibit separately. Okay. So it's 060 through 069 through 078. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And what is this exhibit?
This exhibit is 9.
No, no,
Sorry.
no. What is it? Tell me what is this about? What is this?
What is this about? I will direct the
Is
attention.
this a written statement? Because I'm
This is
looking at this. It looks like it's something, a document or something you submitted to somebody. What is this? I have
this
to
is
give it a title.
this is a documentation which is a rebuttal in response to the respondent application, which was I was rebutting what they had said, and I refuted what they said. And I would like to shed some light on why I'm bringing exhibit 060. I would try to go a little further on that. I can expand on.
All right. So this is complainant's rebuttal to what?
The respondent's response.
Respondent's response of what? That's what I'm trying to understand. Normally, things like this are not exhibits. People just argue their case to me. Okay, so I don't. I mean, this is we're talking 18 pages here, and I'm trying to figure out what exactly this is. So this is your rebuttal to.
This is a response for me. This is a rebuttal, the complainant's rebuttal response to respondent's response.
Response to what? That's what I'm trying to figure out. This case is brand new to me. Remember, it's fresh set of eyes. So I don't know what was it that the respondent did that caused you to file this. Did they deny you something? Was this what are you responding to? You said their response. I don't know what that means, if that makes sense. What had they done that you felt you needed to do this? Did they turn in a document? Did they decline you something? Is this a response to somebody else? What is this?
The heading of the title, it says rebuttal response to respondent's initial application, which is dated April 21st, 2023.
Okay,
And
so
I'm responding to when I say respondent's counsel, that's Aloysius Rothmeyer. That's the response that was responding to his original application that he had filed.
okay, so you filed an application for something. I don't know what.
Okay.
And this, they gave you some kind of answer, and this is your response to that answer of that initial application? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Was that initial application denied?
This is at the level of the Equal Rights Office, not at the respondent's office. It's not at the credentialing office at the equal rights level after I filed an original complaint. And we kept on going back and forth between me and the respondents. They were responding, and I'm also responding. Right? So maybe I'm falling short of what to call it, but in layman's terms, that's what I would call it.
Okay, so when you filed the initial complaint with the Equal Rights Officer serves the respondent and gives them a copy of the complaint and asks for their position statement. So this is in response to the respondent's position statement as to what they said. Is that
Yes.
correct? All right, hold on. Okay. Are you asking me to mark this as an exhibit?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you asking that it be admitted into evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm asking that be admitted into as evidence.
Okay. Attorney Simcox or Attorney Obi, I don't know which one of you is going to take the lead here. Any objection?
I'll let Attorney Simcox.
Sure. We would object just on the basis of hearsay of this document. This is a self-serving affidavit without any evidence in it. It's just the complainant's rebuttal to the respondent's position statement. It doesn't contain any admissible evidence.
What we're trying to do here today, Dr. Molaoli, is I'm trying to ascertain evidence. Okay. That's why I swore you in. I need you to testify to me as to what is going on. Asking to admit a document that tells me all of your arguments and all of your things is not evidence. It is, as Attorney Simcox says, a lot of it is hearsay. It's things of that nature. I need to take firsthand evidence. I've heard argument from counsel in regards to the objection. In lieu of erring on the side of caution, I am going to allow it in. However, I'm going to give it the weight that that I should. Okay, so I'm going to admit it. It's been offered. It's your first exhibit. But going forward, I need you to explain to me, because I still don't have anything that tells me what's going on. And that's what I need. Okay.
I can go ahead
So
and explain the idea why I was trying to base it on this exhibit. There is relevance to what I'm about to explain, which is the cause of why we are here. We are talking of the proper reports. Why is it that I feel that I was discriminated by the state agency, Department of Safety and Professional Services, based on my race, color, national origin, and criminal interaction with the law? And I am the victim. What are the reasons that I have? Reason one is the Department of Safety and Professional Services failing to license me based on what is being termed as failure to deliver a viable exam pass. Two, most of the time, every time I've gone to the Department of Safety and Professional Services to find out as to why I cannot get licensure, even though I've forwarding the documentations, and it's not the first time I've been mistreated, which is what I call racial animus. I've been mistreated. I've been castigated. I've been relegated to a position of an underdog. And that's how I've felt, and that's how I feel. Number three, the licensing agency, Department of Safety and Professional Services, has contracted a private corporation, 3 private corporations. One, we have the NBCC. 2, we have the Pearson's View. 3, we have the allow me a moment to look, just to refresh my memory. We have the NBCC. We have the Pearson's View. I believe that's the private corporation which is tasked with scheduling private exams on behalf of the state. And the whole idea why I was attempting to bring in the very exhibit, it was that the examinations that are being offered are not diverse.
Okay.
They are disparaging people who look like me. And I will expand on that as time goes on.
Okay. In hearing what it is that you're trying to explain to me, I'm going to reverse myself on that exhibit, and I am going to exclude that because it is far more relevant hearing from you than reading a piece of paper. Okay. And you know, we already have a decision from the Labor and Industry Review Commission. It's called Walker versus the City of Eau Claire, March 28 of 2013, if I recall. And what that decision, hold on one second, bear with me. I'm getting a pop-up that says my computer needs to reboot, and we're not doing that right now for updates. So that's a problem. Bear with me one more second. Anyway, as I was stating, what this decision tells me is that when a case is being heard for probable cause, any prior decisions, which means an initial determination or perhaps a preliminary determination, or information that was submitted to the investigator, the equal rights officer, arguments of the parties, etc. Any of that kind of stuff has no relevance, weight, or significance to the proceedings that are before me for probable cause. Okay? So what you're submitting is information you submitted to that equal rights officer in terms of your argument, your position. It has much more weight and bearing when I hear testimony. That's the whole point of me swearing you in. Okay, I can't assess credibility on a piece of paper, and that piece of paper is kind of self-serving because of course it's going to lay out your position, right? So that's why you're here, because I want to hear from you. Okay, because that, sir, is firsthand evidence. It's firsthand testimony. So I want to back up if we could. All right. What kind of a license were you trying to get?
Just trying to obtain a regular, they call it, instead of Wisconsin, they call it an LPC, licensed professional counselor.
Okay. And when did you apply for this license initially?
I think, when did I apply that? I think, if memory serves me right, I think the first, according to the online records, probably it should have originally, when I embarked on that master's course here to know what's acceptable. I think it was 2016, 2017 for a licensure in training. I could be wrong. I don't want to be, I don't have that evidence before me.
All right. So you applied for that license initially, maybe 2016, 17, somewhere in that time frame. Okay. What did you need to provide to the state of Wisconsin in order to get that license?
During that time, after I had completed a required.
Well, I'm assuming you well, I'm going to stop you. First, I'm assuming you have to fill out an application of some kind, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you fill out the application. What else are they asking you to provide them in order to get that license?
So they required applications from the respondents' application.
Okay.
You're going to require some form of fixed employment somewhere where you're going to be in training to receive your licensure. And then 3, I believe you have to meet the requirement of the monetary payments. which they require as mandatory. You have to do a payment as such.
You have to do a payment of what? A payment to the licensing?
You have to pay for the licensure. That's their rules. You have to pay
Well,
for the
well, yeah, nothing's free in life. Okay,
Of
so
course.
just like I had to pay a bar license, I got to keep doing that every year. So that's
Of
what I'm
course,
trying to
not in my
understand.
country. It's different. Not in my country. How
Well,
can you?
this is the United States, so we
I
got,
understand.
unfortunately, everybody charges everything. There's no free lunch.
Everybody does, but
Okay,
asked
so
the
you have
question.
to pay a licensing fee, right?
Yes.
The application, the licensing fee.
Yep.
You have to have some sort of employment where you're going to be training or finishing up, whatever. You fill out the application. What kind of credentials are they asking for? What kind of educational background do you have to have?
Minimum that they were asking was that you have to have a master's level with accredited courses that are verifiable in this state.
Okay. All right. Are there any examinations or things that you have to take, or certifications from a licensing body?
Yes,
What?
I believe you're supposed to take that very exam. I think it's what's the name? It's the counselor's exam, whatever they call it. It's the CRE or NCE, something like that.
Okay, so some type of
Supposed to be
counseling exam.
Yes.
And is there a minimum score that you have to meet, or
not-
you just have to pass it?
I'm not particular about that. That's the very reason why I had wanted to subpoena the very respondents.
Well, what did the application say? Well,
uh,
I mean, when you applied, did you ask them what all you needed in order to get licensed?
But I don't have that information before me. I can't speculate. I can't speculate on that. I don't even know about that anymore.
Okay, so you don't know whether there's a certain score, or whether you just have to pass in order to this exam.
There should be a certain score. I'm not so sure whether they're looking for 100% or whether they're looking for 90% or they're looking for 70%. I'm not so sure.
Okay, did you ever ask anybody what the criteria was in order to get your license?
I did.
Okay, and what were you told?
The criteria was to have a passing grade.
Okay, that's it. So then we know. All right, so as far as the exam goes, you just have to pass. All right. So you pay your fee, you fill out the application, you show them you have this employment, you do have a master's degree. So now the only thing you have left is to take this exam. Okay. Did you pass the exam?
According to the records, it says not. According to the records, let me refresh my memory here. 056, it says
Okay, this says you took it. If I'm looking at your ERD 50, you've got a bunch of them. All right, let's go back here. Let's start with ERD 56. And in October of 20, it says you took an exam and you failed that.
That's what it says here. That's an
Okay.
ACE.
And then in January of 22 on 57 says you took an exam and you failed that. And then in September of 22 on page 58, it says you took the exam and you failed that. Were those the 3 attempts at the exam?
Was 3 attempts.
Okay. Would you like to mark pages 56, 57, and 58? And I think it goes through 59. So we're going to look at ERD 056 through 059. We're going to call those complainant exam scores. And we're going to mark that as exhibit number 2, if you would like. Would you like me to mark those as exhibits and offer those into, and are you offering those into evidence, sir?
Your discretion, Your Honor.
No.
Do I have any-
This is your case, okay? I can't be your attorney.
I know that, Your Honor, but I tried to offer exhibit 79. You objected to that, and counsel.
Well, we haven't gotten to 79. We only talked to 068 through 078. 060 through 078, which was your rebuttal, your argument to their position. That I declined because that is not relevant for today's purpose. We didn't talk about exhibit 79, okay? So, but right now we're talking about these exam scores. So, do you want these offered into evidence?
Can be offered in evidence. I don't know.
Okay, all right. So those have been marked, those have been offered. Any objection to those, Attorney Simcox?
Objection.
All right. Hearing no objection, those will be admitted. Talk to me about your exhibit. While we're talking about exhibits, talk to me about number 79. What is that? Oh,
79.
this is another one of your rebuttals or arguments or position papers, right?
One of those, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to run into the same problem we had with that with the first position statement. So let's go back to the story, right? So I'm following the timeline. So you go and you apply for this license, and
Your Honor, question. These
yes.
applications in response, let me understand, are not admissible or they are dismissed as we speak? I just want to understand that.
What applications? You're
The-
talking
the-
about the documents that you turned into the Equal Rights Division that
No,
were
the-
your position papers?
60 and 79, yes.
Well, it's the same thing. They're immaterial. They're irrelevant for this. This is that was your argument to the Equal Rights Officer who decided whether there was probable cause or not on your initial complaint. Okay? So those arguments, that's immaterial for today's purposes. You have to argue fresh to me. I'm a fresh set of eyes. Okay? And the way you do that is through sworn testimony. You did not swear testimony to the Equal Rights Officer. It was all just paper going back and forth, okay? And that's how they make their initial determination. But now you're in front of an administrative law judge. So it's a far different setting. Does that make sense? So I don't want to read 32 pages. I want you to talk to me. I want to hear it from you, sir. Okay? So if there's something in those papers or your argument, I need to hear those words out of your mouth as opposed to reading on a document that, as we all know, it's your position, the same as their position. It's all self-serving from the person who's offering it. I need I can't assess your credibility on a piece of paper. I need to assess it in front of me, your feelings, what happened, the things that you went through. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we filled out this application, you signed up, you took your exam, and from the test scores that I see here, starting on page 56, so what happens? You sign up for the test, you pay whatever fee it is to take the silly test, you go and you take this test and you fail. What happens with the licensing people? Did you go back? Did you tell them I didn't pass that? What happened?
It's not my job. If they have a connection with their contractors, the NBCC, the NBCC forwards the examinations, whatever the pass, whether it's pass or fail, whatever, they forward that to their main contact, which is the respondent. And of course, attempting those very exams, what I need to make sure that it's understood, it had its own setbacks. they were impropriety with the the invigilators. What do they call them here? Proctors, I think.
Okay.
Proctors, and there were problems. Simple things such as malfunctioning of equipment, such as their computers. We had problems where I was subjected to being I was subjected to being my official mask. I remember I was told that the mask may have had a recorder, and I kept on trying to explain that there was nothing of the sort. And we had an incident where, on numerous times, and my fingerprints, there is nothing very irregular about me having to take the fingerprints of the complainant more than 4 times as to compare to the rest of everybody. But fingerprints were taken for me more than 3 times. And that was very irregular.
Well, when you say fingerprints, you mean when you go to your exam that they took fingerprints each time you went?
They take fingerprints with you like you live in the country or you are a habitual miscreant. Yes, they do take fingerprints.
Well, okay. That's usually what's done in licensing cases. Had mine done when I sat for the bar too. So that's what I'm trying to ask. Did they take it several times during the one exam or each exam?
The one exam. Your Honor, what I'm trying to sustain and try to make you aware. I may not have the right lingo to explain, but I want you to try to understand. English is not my most perfect language, but I'll try to accommodate that as well. I'm trying to wrap my head around what I went through and try to bring it down and try to give the best testimony to the best of my abilities. During the first attempt and the third attempt, during the time when I was attempting those exams, let's talk about the first attempt. We did have some disparaging treatment. And I'm talking about taking fingerprints more than once. It's very eye-catching. My fingerprints were taken more than 3 times on both hands, but the rest of the other applicants, they took their fingerprints just once. 2, now we are talking about the discrimination while I was testing at a subcontractor from the respondent. 2, I'm talking about when the computers, the PCs were malfunctioning. And you keep raising your hand like you're a schoolboy or something like that, and it takes a while for somebody to even get to you. And when they come around you, they are very hostile, the way they approach you, the way they talk to you, which is very demeaning. And that was an observation that I saw. I took that as very personal, and I didn't have to.
You took the exam on a computer that they provide?
On a
it's
regular
not a
people.
written exam?
No, you
Okay.
don't write. You don't write that down. It's on a regular PC and a keyboard, and you keep whatever.
Okay, and then when you would have computer functions, you raise your hand so the proctor knows to come to you.
They have like a high school or whatever,
Okay.
and then somebody comes up to you, and sometimes they neglect to get to you in a timely manner. They attend to the other people, and those are things that I saw while I was going through that exam. Not once, but twice.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'd like to get an objection on the record. The material we're covering at this time is completely irrelevant to the Department of Safety and Professional Services. They don't administer these exams. They don't create these exams. So it has no relevance to the defendants whatsoever.
Your Honor, I may interject.
Well, it's not interjecting. I need to hear their objection, and now I'm going to come to you and say, what do you say to their objection, sir?
I'm sorry.
So now it's you. What do you say to their objection, sir?
Well, Your Honor. Well, Your Honor, it has relevance. The relevance of what I'm trying to ascertain is these people are not coming out of space, and they're not the exception to the law. The NBCC, which is the National Board of Certified Counselor, is a contracted agency, a private contracted agency, which is contracted by the respondent, Department of Safety and Professional Service. the liability falls on the respondent. So it has some relevance to what I'm trying to explain here. They are not coming out of space. They are contracted by the
Well,
respondent.
and the objection is the respondent doesn't make the exam, doesn't administer the exam, has nothing to do with the exam. So you're saying they're contracted by. Where's your evidence that they are in fact contracted by the state of Wisconsin?
Your own tangible evidence to produce. It's just my word against theirs. But I know that once we are done writing that very exam, all the information is forwarded to the respondents. In other words, they have a relationship together. And that relationship is what I cannot wrap my head around. I know they have a relationship together, monetary relationship and
Okay.
money-wise. And what's the other relation? Some kind of a professional contract they have. Respondent and the Department of the National Board of Certified Counselors.
Okay.
They do
So
have a
that's
relationship.
all right. My understanding from and I'm going to sustain that objection from the respondent, because that's what I'm trying to understand with this case. A state licensing board has criteria that they need in order to license. Every state does its own thing. Okay. It's no different than when somebody takes a law exam or they're trying to get any other type of certification. There's usually an accrediting body that everyone recognizes. So my understanding from your testimony is that NBCC is one of those accrediting bodies. Is that correct, sir? Dr. Maloali?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so they're one of those accrediting bodies, and you told me that there were three different agencies or department or organizations that administer these types of exams. And
I take that back. Allow me to explain something here. There are two. The NBCC is a subcontractor for the respondent, which facilitates that.
Well, I need some evidence here as to how you are saying they're a subcontractor. What evidence do you have to show that they're a subcontractor?
Your Honor, the only evidence that I have is an explanation from the very respondents. What is their nature of relationship? They know exactly what nature. They don't have a contract or relationship with me. They have a relationship with the respondents.
No, that's what you're saying. I need to know, what is your evidence to show me that there is a contractual relationship with the respondent? Do you have any evidence?
Monetary wise, when we pay, let's say, for example, what evidence do I have? This is the only evidence that I may say by word of mouth. If it's admissible or not admissible, I'm not so sure. I have two points that I will ascertain on that. One, money wise, when we make payments, I for one, the payments, when you do make those payments, you make those direct payments directly to the NBCC, which is that private contractor. When you make that payment, and part of that payment is transferred to the respondent.
Okay, stop there. What evidence do you have to tell me that when you pay to take the exam, that money, part of it, then goes to the respondent? What evidence do you have for that statement?
I don't, as I speak, I don't have anything.
Okay. What evidence do you have that says the respondent has contracted with NBCC?
I may not have practical evidence, but all I know is once you're done with that exam, they forward the documentation to their contractors. They forward the very exam completion to respondents.
All right. So one of the requirements, if I understand correctly, for you to obtain your LPC is that you had to pass either the National Counselor exam, the National Clinical Mental Health Counseling exam, or the Certified Rehabilitation Counseling exam. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And those are the exams that you failed to pass. Is that correct?
Yes, based on the treatment that I was trying to explain. And the disparaging exam which is being offered, which is racially
Okay.
biased. I want
All
that
right.
to be
We would reassert our relevance objection.
not irrelevant. It's
And I'm going to sustain that once again. Now you applied. We think you originally applied either in 2016 or 17. Were you given a temporary license or anything, Dr. Maloali?
give you an official, they give you an official, whatever they call it, in training in the state, whereby they give you an official in training based on the accreditation that you have received from the state with the regional courses that are required by the respondents.
So you have some sort of temporary licensure while you're waiting to see if you can pass the exam to get the full license. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. How long does that temporary license last? Do you know?
Not so sure, Your Honor. Respondents can help us with that. I don't have that information.
Okay. All right. Did you ever go to the respondent to renew that temporary license?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what happened?
And during that time, I think during that time, did we ever go there? I think yes, I think we did either by fax or by during that time you were authorized to send paperwork via US mail and sent it to them. And I think they extended it to a certain degree where it was also an in training as well, an extension of that.
Okay, because you couldn't pass the exam the first time, they gave you an extension for you to keep trying. Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, that's not what I said. That one, they just offered an extension. They offered another extension while they were waiting for the complainant to make an attempt for the exam.
Okay. I got it. Okay. So you apply first, and then during that time, you applied for an extension so that you could take the exam. Is that correct? Was that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. All right. Now, do you know how many extensions you were allowed?
Your Honor, I cannot ascertain to that. I think respondents can be able to articulate that for us. I can't. It's just being so overwhelming, exhausting, the process.
Okay. So we know we got at least, how many extensions did you end up getting?
Probably 2 or 3 or so.
Okay. Do you know if there's an unlimited amount of extensions that you're allowed?
Your Honor, I'm not so sure. I'm not staff for the respondents. I cannot speculate.
Okay. Did there come a point where the respondent told you that there's nothing, we cannot give you any further extensions?
I just learned that recently during this last renewal from the very person that I wanted to be interviewed. I mean, as a witness, we just learned that through reading her documentation. What's her name? Tammy Shining or whatever. I don't know. It says here PTCL. I
Okay.
wanted those particular questions. Yes, I just.
All right. So when was that? When did they deny you any more renewals?
According to the documentation which was attached in the memorandum, she said there cannot be further renewals.
And when
You-
was that?
Can you give me some time, Aaron? I'll look into that evidence. I'll look into that documentation. Can I look for it?
Of course.
There it is. 055.
So
Zero-
when were you told that you couldn't there would be no more renewals?
I'm looking at the documentation that I'm trying to make a reference is 054, 055.
And what am I looking at on 0055?
054, it says here, and I quote, it says a high timing. This one is a bit unique on face value. I stand by my denial. However, if the applicant could produce documentation from NBCC or Pearson's view, the very subcontractors I'm talking about by respondent, that he is being allowed another opportunity to take exam because of the allegations, my complaints against the NBCC taken as allegations, I would allow one last 6 months renewal of the IT. And that's the one which expired last year, July or June, somewhere there. So there it is.
Oh, okay. So this tells me that if you could produce a documentation to show that that you can take the exam again, they would give you that another renewal of 6 months so that you could get that exam done. Did you do that exam? Did you try to take it again?
I don't know. How would I embark on that, taking an exam yet I have a pending case before me versus state agency? And then two, I have an official complaint against NBCC, which is pending as we speak.
Okay,
Which
what
is
about
pending.
with Pearson View? Did you try to take the exam with them?
Pearson View doesn't open exam, Your Honor. They just organize venues to make sure that the respondents, other contractor, which is NBCC, come in with their paper, which is the exam. They just offer venues to facilitate a place where the very applicants are going to sit for that exam. They don't offer exam. They work hand in hand.
Okay, so you did not end up sitting for the exam again.
Haven't done that as yet, Your Honor, based on the present litigation going on and the one against NBCC, which is pending. And I already have submitted an official complaint with the Department of Safety and Profession against their subcontractors, NBCC, and they never bothered to respond. And nor did NBCC bother to respond on that. So I'm already caught in a dilemma in between somewhere. So
Okay.
damned if I and damned if I don't. So
all right.
where-
So you applied for an extension approximately 2 to 3 times because of all the circumstances that happened during the exams, and at the end of the day you didn't pass those exams.
yeah.
So then what happened?
And nothing has happened as so far. The only thing which is happening right now is the litigation that we have beforehand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your litigation in front of me, okay,
Yes.
is not with MBCC. It is not with Pearson View. It is with the state of Wisconsin. So explain to me how the Department of Professional and Safety Services refused to license you because of your conviction record. Explain that.
Can you rephrase your question to make sure that I'm trying to pick up?
Yes.
Yes.
The litigation in front of me is not with MBCC, okay? It's with the Department of Professional Services. Explain to me how they refused to license you because of your conviction record.
I'd like to make a suggestion here to refresh my memory if I can, Your Honor. Zero 50. You're already 050.
Okay, explain to me. Talk to me.
Okay. Pursuant to what I'm trying to look here, there is where it says there is a sequel here, which says information on conviction pending charges from the respondent form 2250. And these are online records which are improvised by the respondent to somewhat disparage people who look like me. And I quote, I can read a statement here. It says here, the liaison requested a statement explaining how this event will not happen again in the future or how the applicant will avoid such situation. The statement may be sent to the Department of Safety and eventually joined both. Now, Your Honor, you asked me exactly how is that disparaging me, and it goes on further to say, please submit more detailed statements regarding two convictions that indicate the basic facts, such as who, what, why, and whatever. In a nutshell, all this is incriminating already. It's incriminating already, is put out there on
Okay,
online.
hold on. So your testimony is the way they discriminated against you, but because of your conviction record, was because they asked for information, detailed information about those charges.
That's what I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that that's
Yes.
your argument. Is because
That's
they
what I'm
asked
trying
for
to.
that information
Yes, that's what I'm
about
trying to.
those charges, you felt
Yes.
that they discriminated against you and disparaged you by putting this information online or this request online.
Your Honor, the Department of Safety and Professional Services, which is the respondent, is not a court of law. I understand the resolve that they're there to protect public. We are talking of a peccadillo, which is not anything egregious. I've already been adjudicated by the lower court of law, which is the circuit court. Now, the respondents are acting like another small court, disparaging people like me, who look like me. And then now I have to look like as if I'm begging for something out here. And then they use that peccadillo against me.
Okay.
police reports, complainants, judgment, convictions, all that. So the Department of Safety is acting at like another small courtroom.
Okay. All right. So they had asked for further information and clarification, whether it be police reports or details as to what happened with those convictions. That is correct. Okay. All right. Now, they refused to license you because of your national origin. Explain that to me. What does your being South African have to do with this? How did they refuse you because of your national origin?
Being South African, it's carrying a weight of being a melanated person. It's very obvious. I could, if I may ascertain a fact that even just by mere my presence going to over the counter, the respondents going over the counter, the respondents mercy, just asking, begging, pleading, asking, please, can you extend a license? This last encounter, it was just awfully terrible. I went over there, tried to inquire about the application that we had already made, me and my staff and my supervisor then, Dr. Knight, and try to ask, hey, please, people, can you tell us what's going on over there? And they start treating you like a criminal. When you
what happened?
Well, it's the very information when I reached over to the counter, and
right,
you could just tell from just the mere looks, oh, he's back again, the very guy who forwarded a very deep complaint. When I hear words like that, and then I say, well, it sounds like I'm already being targeted. So I'm coming here to make an application, to try to make a follow-up with an application. My then supervisor, he forwarded that form of supervision. So I was just I appeared there early that very morning, and I was trying to just make a follow-up of that application. I say, hey, what's going on with my extension of my licensure? So
do you remember when this was?
I think that was in between November of last, no, in between that was 2022 December, in between the periods 2022 December and 2023, around there early, somewhere there. November, September, October, somewhere there.
Okay, so your supervisor forwarded you whatever information you needed from him, and you wanted to see what the status was. You go in person to talk to these people to find out what's going on with your application. What specifically did they say to you?
And the specification is just the very treatment, the body language of people, they're on heightened alert. The looks, how they're looking at you, they're treating you, just the mere looking at you, they just look at you like as if you're an animal in the zoo, like you're coming to attack. And then two, the young lady, she said, hey, fill out this particular, they have a little form, I think it's anytime any of these applicants show up there, there's a little form that you normally fill out. I came with that form, which is already filled out, and I was just handing it to her. And then she looked, I said, no, we're not going to take that. You can fill out a fresh application here. I said, that's exactly the same form. I just filled out the same things. I knew I was going to be here in such and such a time. It has the same information. And one, I'm not only coming to,
did you write the information down on a piece? I'm not there. So it's kind of like watching a movie as you described to me the events. Would you say, well, hold on. The piece of paper that you brought with, was it the exact form, or was it just the information that was asking on that form? That's what I need to know first.
It's the exact form that I came out. It was already typed out.
Okay, so it's the state form, and you had already filled it out. Okay.
It was already typed out, and I produced the documentation, and then I just wanted to know who I'm dealing with, and hey, what's your name? And I'm just here to make sure that I'm making a follow-up with my license. And two, I just wanted to make a follow-up of the grievance that I made against the NBCC, which Department of Safety, the respondents never even bothered to respond back to that. Of course, they might be untouched, but they never bothered to respond back. Who am I to question their authority? It's a big organization. Of course I can. Who am I? They never bothered. And then she felt threatened because I talked about that grievance against Department of Safety, and I'm talking about NBCC. And she felt threatened, and she just wanted to know, who am I? In what capacity am I there? And she called another person. I think it was that other particular, that's the lady that I wanted. Her name is Charlotte Sattel. That's the one that I'd wanted to be my witness. And she was very threatened, and she.
I'm going to object.
Well, you can't tell me. I'm going to sustain that objection. You can't tell me what somebody else thinks or feels or what's in their head. Okay, you can only tell me what's in your head, what you're seeing, what you're thinking. Okay, that's the other stuff. Nobody knows what somebody else is thinking or what they're doing. So, you asked for a follow-up. You tried to turn in your form. She wanted you to fill out another form, which was essentially the same thing. What specifically did she say or do on that day?
Look at the application here. Is that okay? To refresh my memory. $0.77. $0.77.
Okay, once again, that's your argument, your position. I need you to talk to me.
Yeah,
As
Your Honor.
So
That's
tell
what
me. So tell me what she said.
This is exactly what she said, and this one is refreshing my memory. Charlotte showed up. I'm looking at paragraph number 2. I spoke about Charlotte, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Charlotte giving him, when I say him, I'm talking about me, give me creepy, dirty looks and speaking to MSM in an implied, misplaced, loud tone. Rude, and say to her co-staff, oh, the black guy is back and doesn't get it. And that somewhat tipped me off.
Okay, so you went. So hold on. So you go to renew or find out information about what's going on, and then one of the workers at the counter says, "Oh, the black guy's back. He doesn't get it."
Anybody could interpret that. What does that mean?
No, I want to know if I've got that correct. I'm not asking for an interpretation. I'm trying to take notes here. Okay. So, oh, the black guy is back. He doesn't get it.
Yes.
I'm going to make a hearsay objection.
Well, he's. Okay. Trying to explain hearsay to unrepresented party is quite difficult. That is you heard those words. Is that correct, Dr. Maloali?
Your Honor, I had those words. Those are not just words that I wrote. I had those words by myself. Yes, Your Honor.
You heard them. Okay.
Yes.
What did you do next?
In the statement, the memorandum goes on.
I don't want to hear about the statement or the memorandum, sir. Please. I need you to speak to me. You talk to me. What did you do next after hearing those words?
Your Honor, I think it somewhat tipped me off a little bit, and I told her that I was not requesting, and these are the exact words. I told her I demand to speak to a supervisor.
Okay, then what happened?
And thereafter that, and she demanded, give us your telephone number so that we give it to the supervisor. I said that the respondents do have my telephone number. Please go over and look into the records. There is a particular telephone number. There is an email. Whoever the person is will be able to get back to me. And I'm still here. I'm just looking for service. And you're not doing me a favor. I told her that. And she looked in the records. She looked in the records, I believe, back and forth. She said she couldn't find any. She wanted a telephone number when she insisted, and she was really loud. And it caused some kind of a fiasco. People were watching what's going on there. I was not the only person there. And I eventually said, whatever. I just wrote the number and gave her the number. And I say, I'm really hoping I'm speaking to the supervisor about today's interaction. It's just been outrageously poor.
Okay, did the supervisor ever contact you?
I think that's the person, the one we have, Boyle Pryor. I think she's
Okay. No,
Melinda?
it's a yes or no. Did the supervisor ever contact you?
did.
Okay. And then what happened next?
While we were there waiting for whatever reason, I stepped away from the desk. Then the next moment, she dived back. I don't know whether she was making a phone call or whatever it is. Then I saw a security guy showing up. He seemed to be of African descent or whatever. And she had summoned and called enforcement, the security officer, to come and do something to me, whether to apprehend or to do something, whatever.
Okay, how do you know she was the one that made the phone call, or she contacted them?
Because she was talking to another person over there and she was pointing at me. That was reason enough to tell me that immediately after she had done that discussion.
Okay, was the person she was pointing to, was that a supervisor or was that another coworker? Do you even know?
That was not a supervisor. I think it's a coworker.
Okay, so we think, we're not sure. Okay, so
Right.
now a security guard comes up and says what?
The security guy comes over and he just wants to know what's the interaction, and I give him the whole outline of the story, what was going on and how it came to this level, why he was called. And I wanted to know first why he's asking me what's going on, who called him. He said it's not information that he can give me, but he said
Right.
it's internal information within the department. He can't tell me who did. I said, so somebody, is staff calls you from the respondent, the staff who's a respondent calls you and calls the cop, calls the security on an applicant who happens to be Black. Then you wonder why I'm explaining why I'm being racially targeted here. And they call it security on me as if I am a nobody. And that's the kind of treatment that I'm trying to explain, where a security guy is now trying to interrogate me, wanting some information more from me, what was going on. And I gave him the whole rundown of the story. And I explained to him, there is nothing personal, nothing bad. I only came here to get service. And my only concern was why he was called. And he seemed like he was a nice guy. He was not pushing anywhere whatsoever. Okay. That was it.
Okay. All right.
So I did want to just make sure that my objection on speculation just got entered in the record with regards to believes that.
Yes, and I'm going to sustain that speculation. That's why I clarified. So this is something you think. We don't know. We're not sure. All right. Is there anything else, Dr. Maloali, that you would like to tell me as to what happened with the Department of Safety and Professional Services as it pertains to the 6 issues, or excuse me, the 4 issues that we are here to hear about today that we have not already discussed?
I've almost covered almost everything. I just wanted to clarify. I heard respondent counsel objecting to something, and may I know what that was about?
Oh, yes, that we had already clarified that. That's when you said that she was pointing to somebody and you think that she was the one who called for security. That's speculation. You don't know for a fact who dialed the phone, whether it was the coworker that she talked to, whether it was her herself. We don't know. So that's speculation. That's an objectionable thing. And I sustain that. That's why I asked you the question, do you know for a fact that she called, or was this something you thought and you said, well, I think she did because of these things? Okay. All right. Anything else you would like to tell me in regards to the issues that are before me that we have not already talked about?
Issues that I would like to clarify and rectify about. I had something in mind to call a former employee from Department of Safety and Professional Service, who used to be a supervisor, Samantha Lang. And according to their online records, I think, if memory serves me correct, I made a request or a demand to the respondent, and I
Well, that's requesting of the respondent. If we remember, you never did not properly subpoena any of your witnesses. Okay, we talked about that on May the 20th.
indeed.
All right.
I'm
And then at
referring
that
to-
time, I suggested that perhaps if there was somebody still working or somebody that the respondent could try and make available, if they could. The respondent has no obligation, as I explained to you at that final hearing, to produce anybody for you. That's not their responsibility. But I asked you and Attorney Simcox to perhaps you could have a private conversation. I was not going to be part of that. And see if there was somebody that might be available to appear today, so that you could question them. My understanding is that you guys had a conversation, and then Attorney Simcox was able to get Miss Tammy Buckingham to appear today. Okay, so as far as anybody else, I don't know about anybody else. They were never properly subpoenaed. And once again, you did not follow instructions back from November the 13th as far as contacting me to request subpoenas for any of your witnesses. So that's the boat that we're in. So what else would you like to tell me about your case that you have not already told me?
Two things. The respondent's misuse of authority in trying to subjugate a person of color. There is an incident. There is a particular license. Speaking of licensure, there is a particular incident which involves a different licensure. We call it the AODA licensure, which is alcohol and drugs. And that application, into that particular application, we submitted timely paperwork, and we did request that we are declining. We are no longer proceeding with that application. We would like our funds refunded back to
Okay,
us.
that has nothing to do before me. That's not this case.
Your Honor, hear what I'm trying to say. It's related to that case.
How?
It's related to that case. It's a licensing issue as well. It's related to this case.
No, that's not how this works. Okay. You are here for specific allegations of a complaint. Okay. If there's another application about something else, even though it involves the Department of Safety and Professional Services, and you have an issue with a separate application, that's a separate issue. I can't hear that because it's not before me today. Do you understand? I cannot legally hear it. I cannot render anything on that. I can only speak and hear about the complaint that you filed in regards to you're not receiving your license, your LPC license, and the allegations that the reason you were denied that LPC license was because of race, color, national origin, and conviction. Okay? I hear that perhaps there's another licensing issue going on, but that's not before me and I can't hear about that. Okay? So as far as this case with the LPC license, is there anything else you would like to tell me that we have not already discussed, sir?
Some of the case. I also would like to make a point that the National Board of Certified Counselors were requested to avail the very questionnaires to ascertain the authenticity of the pass grades, and they did not follow through with that. To date, we did not see that official response back. And it also speaks volumes that not only they are very proud to show that, oh, here is the complainant, he may have failed the examination. No, but what we don't see is we don't see the questionnaires to ascertain exactly what were the original questions, if the original questions were racially appropriate.
Objection. If I understand where Dr. Maloali is going here, he's once again complaining about the exam itself, which is administered by an independent organization and not relevant to.
Yeah, I'm sustaining that. You could have asked NBCC for a variety of documents. They're not the respondent in this case. And, I need you to talk to me about the Department of Professional Safety Services, not about NBCC. So is there anything else you want to tell me about the Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services as it pertains to your allegations of refusing to license you?
So if I'm trying to understand you correctly, I should not talk about NBCC moving forward. Is that what you're trying to say, Ron?
Well, not about the exam. There is no evidence that they're a contractor. There's no evidence that the Department of Professional Safety Services administers the exam, has anything to do with the exam. It's just an accrediting body that they will accept their results from in order to give you a license. That's it. That's all they do. They could have picked, light exam body apples. And if Apple says you pass, that's good enough for them. They'll give you a license. They're not the party of this case. The state of Wisconsin is. So I need you to talk to me about what the state of Wisconsin did, not what NBCC did, how they administer their test, whether their test is fair, whether it's not fair, whether it's disparaging. That has nothing to do with your licensure. You either met the qualifications or you did not. So keep talking to me about your case with the Department of Professional and Safety Services.
That may be, Your Honor. Even if I may talk about how the exam is disparaging or the treatment of the exam, you are not prepared to listen to that.
It's irrelevant to this case.
Then I rest the case. I have nothing to discuss any further.
Okay. All right. Now it's the time for the respondent to ask you questions. This is what's called cross-examination. And then I'll give you an opportunity, Dr. Maloali, to clarify anything if you are unsure or would like to add something. Do the parties want to take a brief 10-minute break and then we will start with cross?
I was going to suggest that, Judge, just to give you a roadmap of where I'm going here. I'm going to be reviewing the timeline in some detail and pulling up exhibits that support that. And so perhaps we'd like to take a break before we get into that lengthy discussion.
Okay, let's do that. I will let the parties know that I am going to need to take a half-hour break from, and we'll be from 12:45 and then back at 1:15.
Okay, do we just want to take a 15-minute break at this time, or?
maybe just 10,
Okay,
10,
that's
15 at most.
fine with me.
Okay.
All right with Dr. Molaoli.
Dr. Maloali, we're going to take about a 10, 15-minute break, okay?
What
So
time
don't
do you-
go anywhere, but you can, turn your camera off and mute your microphone, but don't go anywhere. I don't want to have to find you. Okay?
Why me? Why you not talking about that on the SIM cards? Why me? Do I look like I'm too much for you, Honor?
No, Attorney Simcox is there. I worry and I want to make sure you continue to stay here. I don't want you to leave and then I can't find you and the next thing you know, I have to dismiss your case. So I want to make sure you're here, okay? I want to hear all of it.
What time do you want us back?
Let's be it's 11:06. How about 11:26? 11:26, 11:30 at the latest, okay?
Sounds good, Judge. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.